Welcome back to the Rowan's podcast. I am the Rowan. This is episode number 28. Grab yourself a nice hot cup of coffee, a comfy chair, and let's have a chat. And unfortunately, I lost track of there's my coffee cup. It's over there. And it's full of cold coffee. And you want to know why? Because this is probably I've lost track of how many attempts I have had at recording this episode. And within the past couple of hours, I've been at this. This is now 2:39, and I've been at this since before noon, or around noon, actually, I should say. And I just dumped a 50-minute episode because I'm just struggling with this one. From the dogs interrupting to pizza thing being interrupting, from my washing machine threatening to throw stuff off the top because it was in spin cycle. So, and my plain out dissatisfaction with the information that I was attempting to get across and doing a poor job of it has resulted in many, many failed attempts. So we're going to try this again. I do want to say, though, a couple of things. First is that, yay, I'm going to give a shout out to the person in Australia who has joined in listening and joined in for our chatting. I was shown today on analytics that we not only have, everybody from the USA, which is the vast majority of people. We do have, like I said, someone from Germany, and now we have someone from Australia. So shout out to them. Yay. I'm doing my shout outs early, by the way. Shout out to my best friend Sue, who will have an official role title for this podcast. She is, I am making her a staff member of my podcast because she has been very much, so much valuable in helping me with finding topics and helping me with suggestions and criticisms and things that I could do and things I should do better, different things like that. She has been very helpful. So when I have an official title for her, I will let you know, but she is, to me, a value member of my podcast, for the podcast team here at the Ron's podcast. So shout out to Sue. And I also wanted to tell everyone that I am not a professional. I do a lot of research online. I do talk to people. I talk professionals, and I talk to people who have experiences with these things. And I go pull from my own experience. The vast majority is from my own experience. And dealing with different things like this, and I'm just passing on that information to you all with the idea of that maybe I can help in some sort of way, maybe shed some light into someone's life, and that if you think that any of this, anything connects to you, that I suggest that maybe you go talk to your doctor or a therapist or someone to see if you find out if it is, and that you could get the supports that you need. And also, just let you know that my podcast is not only about the neurodivergency, there is some faith-based stuff, but also I am open to any topic whatsoever, with the exception of politics. So if any listener out there has any idea for a topic for a podcast, drop me a line in the comment section, or if you have a criticism, or if you find that I have said something that is factually incorrect, please pop it in the comments. As long as it's polite, I will respond, and I will look into it. And if whatever topic you put down there, I will look into see what I can do about creating an episode. And or if you want to be the one to chat with me on the podcast, drop me a line. We can work something out. So that would be fun. That would be fun. You could be a guest if you want to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, with the exception of politics, because I won't do that. Because I don't feel that will bring any light into the world right now. So let's. Okay. So this podcast is going to be like a follow-up to number 27, the RSD, Rejection Sensitivity Dysphoria, because Sue said, hey, this would be a good follow-up. Can you please do one on this subject? And I said, hey, that sounds like a really good idea. You are correct. That would be good. So that's kind of how that conversation went. And that happened yesterday. And so I did what I do, and I did some research, and I pulled together some things, and I really do believe that this would be I think this will be a good one. What it is this episode will be about having children with RSD and how to help them, how to manage that. I was going to, part of what I had done before and part of what I've kicked out and I'm not doing right now is I did have like how it affects your relationships. And I was going to go between like romantic relationships to parent-child relationships. But given the fact right now that I am in a relationship that I'm struggling to try to navigate through with the RSD, trying to figure out how we can work together with this. And I'm learning on this myself. And I suspect he has it as well. I don't believe that he has the actual full RSD. I think he just has just the RS because there is a difference. There's rejection sensitivity and then there's rejection sensitivity dysphoria. They're very, very similar. Dysphoria, it just has a little bit more severe reactions to it. But I believe he has it as well. So we're navigating, I trigger him, he triggers me, that type of thing. And I wish I could find information on that when you have, because the information that I got is like you have your partner that's RSD and then the supportive partner. Well, what happens when both of them are in the middle of an RSD episode? Who's the supporting partner at that time? We're supposed to support each other at that point, but how can we when we're going through our own little... So I'm going to research that. I don't know if I'm going to do an episode specifically about relationships, romantic relationships with RSD, but for myself, I am going to look into it. But I really thought that Sue was correct because there are a lot of children out there, and even parents that have adult children that are dealing with. So they might just finally, maybe they're just, late diagnosed with it. And I say late diagnosed because, some people might know that, didn't realize why they were so sensitive when they were younger. Well, this is why. So this can be children of any age as a parent, dealing with them. So we are at Beyond Book Smart website, and this is from May 1st, 2024. 8 ways you can help a child with ADHD-related rejection sensitive dysphoria. And we've already been through in the last episode what it is, but I'm just going to read this opening sentence, or one of these opening sentences. It says, rejection sensitive dysphoria is severe emotional pain caused by perceived failures or the feeling of rejection. And it goes beyond the typical rejection sensitivity in a few different ways. People with RSD may develop anxiety or other negative emotions while anticipating a rejection. If an encounter is neutral or vague, they're likely to see it as rejection and react accordingly. And I'm just going to keep reading this. People with RSD struggle to regulate their emotions in situations where they feel they might fail. This can look like overreacting, taking things personally, perfectionism, people-pleasing, or extreme negative feelings. So, and we've already went through what some of the symptoms are, but I'll still go through it here. I'll just bullet point it here. Getting embarrassed or self-conscious easily, showing low self-esteem, having extreme emotional reactions to perceived rejection, internalizing emotional reactions, which can look like mood swings, people-pleasing, procrastinating, or avoiding situations that could lead to perceived failure, perfectionism, or intense anxiety. And this is something that Alex Partridge has in a lot of his podcasts, and he does ADHD chatter, and this is one of the facts that he says a lot. And this is in here too. It says by the age of 12, children with ADHD hear up to 20,000 more corrective messages than their peers. Meaning, like, and he gives examples like, stop being so sensitive, stop overreacting, stop fidgeting, stay still, be quiet, things like that. So these are the 8 tips for helping a child with rejection sensitivity dysphoria. But before I get into that, and in case you didn't listen to number 27, but I encourage you to listen to 27 if you are a parent who has a child who's dealing with RSD, because I explain it, the intensity of how it feels and different aspects of it in that one. And I'm just skimming it here in the interest of time. And I'm really sorry that I'm not giving you guys a whole really huge long one. But I will just say, for any parent who's listening to this, please listen to number 27. But it is a very real thing. It does cause intense emotional pain, and that pain is felt as physical pain. It's emotional, but it is felt as physical. And it is so deep, and it runs to the very core of the person. And it is very, very intense. And it is something that is important to be addressed. So please listen to the other episode that I go into way more about it. But we are going to go into how to support them. The first one says, number 1, be kind. And this is what it writes. This is what it says. This point may sound simplistic, but children with RSD are likely to encounter others who don't have the patience or consideration to meet their intense feelings with kindness. And it's encouraging people to speak in even a gentle tone, even if it's something that you're saying that's harsh. And if you said something that's harsh, apologize. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Okay. I'll just read the sentence. Speak to them with an even and gentle tone, and if you said something harsh, apologize. Okay, I read that wrong the first time. So yes, it is very important. And this is not, my husband would say this is babying. This is not babying. It just means, since children with RSD are more sensitive to negativity and criticism and rejection, speaking to them with an even and gentle tone, and you're speaking to them kindly, it helps them. It supports them. It builds up their self-esteem, for one thing. I can tell you that. I know this is, if you speak kindly to me, if you're nice to me, that will build up my self-esteem. I will feel better about myself. I will feel like I'm worthy. I feel like whatever. And I could see this in a child. If you're not being kind, if you're speaking to them harshly, I can see where that just tears them down. Like, some people have the opinion that if you tear down a child, then you can build them back up to the way that they have, like a military point of view in basic training. Some people do. You tear down the child, be harsh, be strict with them, and then you can build on that foundation and build them up. Well, people with RSD, you tear them down, you will not build them back up again. You will not build them back up again. They will be torn down and they will stay down. In order to build a child up with RSD, you encourage them. You speak kindly to them. You point out the good things that they're doing. Don't dwell on the negative. Don't dwell on, well, you didn't put your toys away. So, yeah, you can correct them and you can say, hey, maybe you should put your toy. But it's not babying. It's providing supportive help. It is not babying. If you have a child with RSD, it is not babying, just to be kind. Tough love, and it says right here, tough love isn't going to work for children with RSD. That is true. It will just destroy them more. Help them learn self-compassion. It says some children internalize negative messages they hear about themselves because of RSD. And it'll lead to poor self-image, low self-esteem, or perfectionism. Like they think they would have to be perfect in all that they do, in everything that they do, in order to feel good enough. And even once they've reached that perfectionism, it's still not good enough. And this is why I say I think my husband has it, because one of the things is because he is a perfectionist. He has to have everything just right. If it's not just right, he's a failure. I mean, he is an amazing cook, But every time he cooks something that's hugely great, it was super fantastically great, he's messed it up. It's wrong. It's nothing. It's not right. And he's always down about it. It doesn't matter what he does. He can work all day long as hard as he can, sit down at the table at the end of the day and say, I didn't do enough today. I didn't do anything today. And I'm like, hey, you just did A, B, C, D, all the way down to Z, everything you could possibly do. What do you mean you didn't do it? I didn't do it. I didn't do anything today. And I can see that perfectionism, and when you have a child who's receiving all these negative, be still, be quiet, be, whatever. Why are you so loud? Why are you weird? Why are, that just tears down that, and they're going to try harder and harder and harder, and they can't achieve that perfectionism. And then it will lead to low self-esteem, poor self-image, depression, and anxiety. So they need to learn self-compassion, to give themselves grace, it says you can model self-compassion by admitting your mistakes. Like when you make your own mistake, admit it. And when the child uses negative self-talk, encourage them to give themselves, there it is. I say this all the time, it's right here. Give themselves some grace. Yeah. Hey, you're not that, like you hear them say, well, I'm stupid, I'm dumb. And say, no, you're not stupid. You're not dumb. You're very smart. You are a smart person. You are this. You are that. Give yourself some grace. Accept the fact that you are smart, that you are pretty, that you are whatever. And, my husband does try to do this for me all the time. He's like, look in the mirror. Just look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and tell yourself you are this, you are that. Look in the mirror every day and say this to yourself. Me, I find it a very uncomfortable thing for me to do. And I started doing something else, and I also encouraged my oldest son to do this as well, to do something similar for him too. But what I do, I just find it very uncomfortable to look at myself in the mirror and go, I am pretty, I am kind, I am this, I am that. I could see for a child how they probably wouldn't be uncomfortable with that. I think they might actually like that, but me, I feel uncomfortable with it. So what I started to do is I took sticky notes and I wrote, this is just for me. I wrote Bible verses, uplifting Bible verses, more about like protection and safety and things like that, and where my strength lies, where I can go for strength and whatever, those type of things for me. And I have them up on the mirror in the bathroom. And I have just enough space to where you can actually look in the mirror at yourself, but I have these sticky notes all over. Um, because my husband said every morning go in the bathroom and look in the mirror and say these things to yourself. And I didn't want to say those things, but I wanted Bible verses. I wanted to rest on my faith to build myself up. That's what I chose to do. Now maybe you could do that too for your child if you are um, religious and you're thinking along those lines too. Have them read those Bible verses every day or something. My son, I told him, because he is not religious, although he is starting to come to church with me a little bit. But I think for him, that's more of a wanting to be involved with the community. Which either way, I'm thankful that he's there. But for him, I said kind of the same thing, like my husband was saying, but as in like write things, positive about yourself and put them in sticky notes up on your mirror in the bathroom. And then you have those every day. So when you're looking at yourself, you can read those every day. So yeah, you just have your child look in the mirror and say that to themselves. Say, I am pretty, I am smart, I am whatever it is they're struggling with. You can have them give that a try, or write it in a sticky note if they're not. I could have done that too. Now I think about it, I could have just wrote those on sticky notes for myself instead of saying it to myself. But you could have them write that, or have them write, Bible verses if you want, and put them on there. That's up to you. If you want to do those things, I'm just suggesting. Whatever works for you. Or just make it a thing every day. You say it to them when they get up in the morning for breakfast. Hey, beautiful, how are you? Or it's ready to go to bed. You know, um, just give them some sort of compliment before they go to bed in the morning. Maybe when they come for lunch. And maybe they come to sit down for lunch and they helped you set the table. Well, you're very helpful today. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Anything, any kind of positive reinforcement that you can give. And then even that, that'll help. Okay. The next one, help them learn emotion regulation skills. Children with RSD may need more help noticing when their emotions are running high and redirecting them to a healthy outlet. With things such as deep breathing, self-soothing with comforting sensations when the child is feeling good. When the child is feeling good. That way these skills will be accessible when intense emotions come up. Yes. So practice the breathe in through your nose 4 seconds, hold your breath for 2, breathe out through your mouth for 6 seconds. That's a good exercise to do. Self-soothing with comforting sensations. I don't know, like episode 20, the one before this, the episode 27, they said like taking a warm bath or running your hands under warm water or savoring some hot tea. Well, or warm tea. Maybe your child doesn't like tea. Maybe you could try a cup of hot chocolate. When they're not feeling good, a cup of hot chocolate. Maybe have them sit, if you have a cat or a dog, have them go sit down with the cat or the dog and just pet the cat or the dog. Have the cat sit on the lap. I do know having a cat sitting on your lap and you're petting the cat and they're purring, that's a very good calming thing. I know my dog Mabel, when I used to get upset, when my husband and I were apart, and I would sit on my floor and I'd have my legs just straight out and I would be crying, and Mabel would come and just lay her entire body the full length of my legs and just lay there while I cried and let me pet her. And I never trained her to do that, never asked her to do that. She just started doing that. And it was very soothing, very helping. So maybe you could tell them, hey, when you get upset or you're crying or something, go pet the cat, go pet the dog, any kind of self-soothing. Maybe put in their favorite movie. Redirect, their attention to something else to help regulate those emotions. I know my son, this was a different reason why I would have to redirect him when he would have meltdowns. And I suppose that is an emotional regulation thing. Yeah, it says when he would have meltdowns, I would count to 10 over and over and over again because he loved numbers. And just 1 through 10, 1 through 10, 1 through 10, until he started hearing what I was saying through that meltdown. And then he would start counting with me. And then he would calm down. And then it would be over. So maybe that would be a good regulation skill. Just count to 10 over and over. Maybe if they're a little bit older, count to 20, because he was like 5 at the time. Give them reassurance. Children with RSD may start to feel that their value is attuned to their performance or their productivity. Remind them that often that they are worthy of love just the way they are. And I think that is very important because kids with ADHD do hear all the negative remarks. Why can't you just be normal? Let them know that they are just fine the way that they are. Like one time I told my son, I told him I was proud of him. And he said, "Why are you proud of me?" Like, what did I do? And I said, "Just being you. I'm proud of you for just being you." And he didn't understand it at first. He thought he had to do something in order for someone to be proud of him. And I said, "No, just for being you." And that made him feel a lot better. And for a long time after that, and even now, he's 26 years old. Even now, I will tell him, "I'm proud of you for just being you." Because it's that important to him. And you can just say that to your child too. Give them assurance and just say, "I'm proud of you." Just like walk up by them one day, just out of the blue. Just say, "Hey, I'm proud of you for just being you." Or they could ask you, why? For just being you. I cannot begin to tell you what a difference that made for him that day when I said that to him, because he was not expecting that. He thought you had to do something to earn being proud of. No, just being you is enough. You are enough. And that's the other thing. Just tell them you are enough. You matter. You are enough. Let's see. Help them accept their feelings. Having intense emotional reactions can make regular daily interactions. Sorry, I do know how to read. Having intense emotional reactions can make regular daily interactions very difficult. Even more so if one is around people who aren't supportive or comfortable with their own vulnerability. By acknowledging intense feelings and talking about them, you can start to normalize them and decrease any feelings of shame. When these reactions happen, help the child name their emotions. Oh, there we go, Dave the Dragon. Sorry, that's from episode 27. Treat intense emotions like neutral, temporary states that will pass rather than negative experiences or weaknesses. Encourage your child to search their emotions for helpful information and find a way to process them or let them go. Now, you could, yes, explaining to them that their emotions are not permanent; they are temporary, and they will change. They will pass. That is key. That is very important, especially if you're in the middle of an RSD episode, because you feel like that is all there is. Like everything is done. Everything. It's just this. The world has fallen. The world is torn apart. Everybody hates me. Everything is bad. I'm horrible. This rotten. It's just you're encased in this rejection thing. It's like this dark thing that just encases you, and you don't see anything else. And if you explain it to them, like maybe explain it to them like it's just a storm. You know how like you get the thunderstorms? You know how they come and you know how they pass? You know, after a while they just pass and they're gone and the sun comes back out again? Well, this is what's going to happen. You are feeling this right now. And I know you're feeling this negative. I know you feel bad right now. And I know this is bad, but it's going to pass. You know, don't blow it off to them like, oh, don't worry about it, it's just going to pass. But be helpful and say, this is going to pass. And I'll be here with you while it passes, or I'll be here until it passes, or, you know, there you will see, you know, it will pass. You know, I'm explaining that, right? You know, acknowledge it. Say, yes, I know that you're having these feelings. I know that this is, and, but I know it'll pass. You know, one time I sat with my daughter about something that she was really sad about. And she was crying her little eyes out. And we were in a parking lot. And she was crying her little eyes out. She was like really young at the time, like 6, I think. And I told her, I said, I know you're sad. And I'll sit right here with you and I'll cry with you. And we sat in that parking lot just crying our eyes out because I wanted to help her through. And it was something she was devastated over, you know, as a child. She was devastated over it, and it hit my heart too to see her so devastated over it. And I sat in that parking lot, just me and her and our little van at the time, and we just sat and cried together. Because I wasn't gonna leave her alone in her feelings. I wasn't just gonna take off and start driving on our way home. I just let her cry her feelings out. I was gonna sit there with her and cry right along with her. I will never forget that. Um, and I think it's important. You know, that was acknowledging her feelings and being there and supporting her. And I think it's very important that we do that as adults, as we acknowledge our children's feelings. And if we can, get right in there with them, you know, hey, I'm right here with you. I will help you through this. You know, that is important. Um, Help them come up with positive affirmations. Affirmations are another proactive tool that can help build defenses against negative self-talk. Like if they're saying nobody likes me because I'm always crying, and this is their thing here on this website. It says you could turn it into my emotions are powerful messages, and I have good friends who don't judge me. This I can see would be very good for older children. This is a lot for younger children. And I think there's probably other ways. I mean, you could say it in a different way to help the younger child. Like, nobody likes me because I'm always crying. Or you could say, just remind them that they do have friends who do care about them. Say, you know, no, how about your affirmation on this? Say, you know, I have good friends who care about me. I have good friends who like me, you know, or I am liked by my friends, or my friends like me. Just plain old, my friends like me. Something that simple. Like I could see a 5 or 6-year-old, maybe a 3-year-old, 4. My friends like me. You know, they might be, you know, I cry too much. They might think that, well, my friends like me. I am too loud. My friends like me. My family likes me. You know, I am not too loud. Or I'm too loud. No, I'm joyful. I'm happy. You know, something like that. Okay, help them focus on what's true. And yeah, this is important. In moments when RSD is causing a lot of anxiety, gently challenging and reframing negative thoughts can help a child curb their worries. Um, they're talking about what to do when they're expecting negative feedback, and I thought they were going to say something else. Getting constant negative from feedback from someone might say more about the person giving the feedback than the person receiving it. Oh yeah, and I have said that to people before when they were getting a lot of negativity. Was like, you know what? That says more about that person than it does about you. They are the one with the problem. You don't have the problem. And it is something, and they do point that out, it's very hard to understand at a young age. But I thought they were gonna, this meant, they were gonna say that this meant, focus on, because when you're in the middle of the RSD episode, it's real or wrongly perceived rejections. So you could wrongly be thinking like some person is rejecting and they really aren't. And help them focus on what's true to help them find the truth in that situation. Like the example I used before, like if you're at work and someone's wrinkling their nose, like say, okay, let's put this, say I'm at work and I walk by some customer, or a customer walks by me and they're wrinkling, they're coming up to me and they're wrinkling their nose or whatever, I don't know. And they're walking by, or they're rolling their eyes or something, and they're walking by, and maybe, I'm in the mood of work and I feel like they're rolling their eyes at me and I'm being rejected or something. Well, maybe that person had thought of something that bothered them. Or maybe they just walked by something that stunk in the store. Like we have candles in our store that stink. We have essential oils that stink. They might have a smell sensitivity and they might have walked by those and wrinkling their nose. And, maybe I'm thinking that they think, it's something to do with me. Well, to focus on what's true, I could learn, hey, I need to take a step back and go, okay, where was I just at? I was in the candle section over by the essential oils too. And maybe they just walked past there. So the truth might not be because of me. That's what I was thinking that it meant. But when a child expresses that they're expecting negative feedback, ask how they know it will be the outcome. Okay, now I understand a little bit more. So this would be a perceived an expected, like I was saying, like if you know you're going to go to work and someone's going to trigger your RSD, well, how do you know that that's going to happen? Like how do you know you're going to get negative feedback? Or say they have a report card. Here you go. This is better. They have not a report card. They have a book report that they have to hand in. And I know this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. How do you know it's going to be bad? What about this did you know it's going to be bad? And focus on it, and be like, well, not focus on the negative part, but build them up about, try to change their opinion and help them focus on what's true. You don't know that, do you? Because you haven't put it in. You haven't, whatever. I'm struggling with that one. Okay, next one. Discreetly let their teachers know. If you've spoken to your child's pediatrician or specialist about it, it could be helpful to share information with their teachers, mentors, or coaches. Let them know how you're helping your child learn to regulate their emotions, and they can give your child in the space to do so. And they can be helpful allies in normalizing your child's intense emotions and helping them feel less shame around them. A parent-teacher conference would be appropriate. Yes, this would be important. So long as you have a very good teacher, and most teachers are good teachers, or mentors, or coaches that are willing to help to help them with that. And as long as they have the tools and they know, okay, this is what is, I know that we need to handle the child in this way. As long as they know it, they're more than willing to do those things. So, I would suggest you do talk to your teacher, be like, hey, this person, he or she has this. This is how we're managing at home. Um, I think it's very open communication with your teachers, because if you don't talk to the teachers about this and your child has an episode at school and say it's triggered a rage response, well, they could just think that this child is just misbehaving or being out of control and overreacting or whatever, and they'll treat them accordingly. They won't. Their reaction to that child at that point will be negative, and it'll just snowball the whole thing. But if they know that this child has RSD and they may have triggered a rage response at that point, or maybe this child has triggered a, a, a shame response where they're crying and they're just going through this intense emotional pain, then they would know how to handle it there too. What to do. I mean, if the child is in a rage response, they should know, hey, I should not be lashing back at this child. They should not be, it should be with calm. Well, any way they respond to a child with RSD should be with calmness and kindness. But at least they would know. At least they're not going to think the child is, just acting out. So, next, it on this, it also says, does rejection sensitivity dysphoria come with other risks? And there are some mental health ones, low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, those type of things. Also, the higher chance of developing substance abuse disorders. I could see that would be like for self-medicating and things like that. They write here, put another way, RSD can intensify the social and emotional challenges most children with ADHD experience. Yeah. Yep, I can see that. I'm gonna go through this. I'm looking at another site real quick. That one's just this one I'm looking at just turned out to be a little article that was basically an advertisement for their business, because basically at the end of it, it says therapy is an ideal choice for RSD. And here, come talk to us. Not the one I was just on, this other one I'm looking at right now. Yeah, so we're not even going to go to this one because, I'm sorry, I will not give it the time of day, because if you're, yes, I understand they want to help, but I feel like do an article on it on your website, put your contact information down, but don't have an advertisement about your thing at the end of it, unless it is specifically just an advertisement thing. Because they can find your contact information. If they want more information, they can contact you. But if a person is looking for help or information, and then it turns out to just be an advertisement, I kind of like, I don't know, put you off. At least it does for me. I don't know about anybody else. It's a pet peeve of mine. Let's see. This is about relationships. I think this means like other types of relationships, not just parent-child, but I think this can also work with parent-child. Recognizing your relationship triggers. Okay, even between parent and child, there are triggers in that relationship. And as long as you know what they are, if you can identify them, you can create a list of situations, thoughts, or dynamics that trigger it. Pay attention to your emotional response and your reactions, like seeking reassurance or withdrawing. And this self-awareness empowers you to take control and effectively manage these triggers. So if it's a parent-child relationship and you know that these certain situations will trigger it, and what the emotional responses would be and what the reactions are, then you will know how to handle it from that point. As long, it's a big awareness of it. The second one that they have is Catch the Dual Story with the EFT Infinity Loop, and they have a chart on what that is. Both you and your partner may have your own narratives and perspectives following an attachment injury, and I'm not understanding this one. It just says that the tool helps you recognize and address these narratives collaboratively, fostering deeper connection and understanding in relationship. I think it just means because you both have your own way of doing things, and it can make it into a loop. As long as you recognize these, you can work together on, because I believe that Dave has RS, at least RS, rejection sensitivity, and I have the dysphoria. We do, for us, we do get into a loop. And I think anybody with RSD, when they get triggered and they're in a relationship with someone, you do get into a loop, because if the other person doesn't know that you're in an episode and you lash back at them, then they lash back at you, and then it just snowballs. You go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Or if you withdraw because you're emotionally hurting and you withdraw, then they get upset. They get rejected because, hey, they're withdrawing from me. And then it just snowballs. And if you understand each other's reactions, then it would be a big help. Embrace journaling for self-reflection. And I did do a thing on it in the previous episode, number 27, about that. I talked about art journaling, drawing pictures. I painted pictures of what my depression was and what my thoughts and feelings were. I also, writing. A lot of people say, write it down and then destroy it. I never understood that. For me, writing stuff down, your words on paper have a lot of impact. And I find it really, if you're going to the effort to physically write stuff down on paper, you don't destroy it. But I can see where it can help some people, because they see it physically. Those words are physically on that paper. And if they see them being destroyed, then they can let it go. I understand the concept. For me personally, I couldn't do that, because writing is an integral part of my life, as always has been. So to destroy things written, that's very hard for me. Plus, I look at it as a record of, I have read stuff that I wrote a long time ago, and I look at that like, wow, this is where I was, but this is where I am now. Look at the progress that I've made. And some of the stuff that I've read was downright, oh my gosh, I was that, how did I even get from there to here? Such a difference. And, some of the stuff made me cry. Some of the, it's just like, but I understand. Some people say destroy it. I say don't, unless you are one of those people that let it go, like Frozen, let it go. I see both ways, but I also I did video journaling and I've done audio journaling, and for me myself, I prefer the audio journaling because, like I said, the camera doesn't like me. But audio journaling is I will record, that's how this podcast started, recording my thoughts and feelings on stuff, and these are things I would destroy. I would either listen to them and delete them, or not delete them, or just plain delete them. But I found if I kept some of them, and if I listened to, I find if I do listen to them after I've done it, then it's like me taking a step back, looking at myself from outside, and I learn a lot about myself that way. I listen and I'm like, oh, okay, this is, it was a big help. But I deleted a lot of them because I didn't want anybody else to listen to them. And I think that's also the other reason why you destroy what you write, because you want people to, read it. But I did end up finding one that I had for a long time ago, and I thought it'd make a good podcast. But anyways, so I recommend doing audio journaling, because you get a lot more feeling and emotion can come across from the spoken word than just the written word. And especially if you're doing it during an RSD episode, because then when you're up and over and through the RSD episode, then you can actually listen to yourself and learn. You can learn about yourself quite a lot by doing that. So I recommend that. And your child can do that too. Have them, they're young, have them draw a picture of how they're feeling, or have them write it down, or audio, like have a teenager audio or video journal. I know like the vlogging used to be the thing way back when. I don't know if people still do that nowadays, but I suppose they do. Yeah, I guess they do. Never mind, I'm being dumb. But yeah, just every teenager has a cell phone, and they love taking selfies and videos and stuff. Have them do that. They don't have to upload it on the internet. I suggest they don't, but they can watch themselves, listen to themselves, and they can delete it. And then, I think it would be really good. Prioritize emotional regulation. Another one, deep breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, tensing and releasing your muscles starting from your toes on up, is what they're saying. Sensory grounding practices can help calm your nervous system and reduce emotional distress. So you could do like dual ones with your child. You could do the breathing exercises with them, the muscle relaxation with them, whatever grounding practices that could help them do it with them. And it would also, help them to build up their self-esteem because, hey, there's somebody there doing this with them, supporting them, helping them, is in that with them. Oh, no. And number 5, share deep breathing with your partner or your child. And that would be the breathe deeply, inhale deeply through your nose for the count of 4, hold for 1 to 2 seconds, then exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. I'm not sure if this is something you could do with really small children. You probably can, maybe not as high in numbers. I don't know. Ask your doctor about that one. Engage in progressive muscle relaxation. Oh, well, we already done all that. I was just repeating it. The next 3 here. Progressive muscle relaxation, and the next one is sensory grounding as a couple. Well, okay. Well, yeah, this one you might not want to do with your child because, it's not saying anything bad. It's just it would not be appropriate to do with your child. Some of these things that they're saying. But I will say sensory grounding can be drink a cup of hot chocolate together. The taste, the heat, the whatever that you can do. Like, see, I see you're having a hard time right now. How about we have some hot chocolate together? Or ice cream. Doesn't have to be something warm. It could be something, I see you're having a really hard time. Here, let's go get a sundae together. Let's go get an ice cream cone. Because it can take their mind off from it. It can help them go from one sense to another sense. It can, things like that. This for couples, it was saying like taking a warm bath together or something. So that is not, no, that is for a couple. So I would say, like a hot chocolate or ice cream or one of the ones I talked about yesterday was running your hands under warm water. I mean, maybe you could do that with, let's go wash our hands. They'd be like, why? Like all of a sudden the child's upset. Hey, let's go wash our hands. He was like, why? And they would shift their mind into like, wait, what? I think I read or heard somewhere. Oh, I did on ADHD Chatter with Alex Partridge. Someone had said something about it's either chewing on ice or holding an ice cube or putting an ice cube in the palm of your hand because that sensory, that coldness would ground you. Change it. You would focus on that. You could do that. Hey, let's go grab a piece of ice out of the freezer. Or just bring them to the freezer and just grab a piece of ice and be like, here, let me have your hand. Put it right in their hand and be like, oh, hey, what's that? Why are you putting, Practice communication. It's saying utilize resources such as exercises in active listening, needs identification, and narrative exploration to refine your communication skills. Engage in active listening by inquiring about each other's days and wholeheartedly concentrating on and reflecting back what you've heard. So yeah, you could be, they come home from school, ask them how their day was and actively, engage back and forth on it. Or you have an older child who, say, they have a job after school or something like that and they come home, or they have a job on the weekend and they come home. Well, how was your day at work? How'd work go today? Actively engage, practice that communication in a positive way. So that's good. So, and we've already talked about self-compassion and acceptance. So yeah, I think these were all good ones. I'm not really seeing anything else. Oops. Huh. Yeah. So I hope this has been a help. I know I babbled on a lot, but I'm hoping that this. I'm mildly distracted at the moment. I'm looking up to try to find a little bit more. If I can give a little bit more info, I want to be as helpful as I can. Speaking of cats, I am sitting here with my hand on the table with my mouse scrolling, and my cat, one of the cats, Pooh Bear, the black one, the sheriff, remember as we talked about before, he's sitting next to me, purring, and he's reaching up, grabbing my hand with the mouse, and rubbing his face on my arm, trying to get me to pet him. And usually when he gets really, really loving is because he wants something, usually food. So his dish is probably empty at this moment. We call the cats, at least I do, I call them our overlords because, when they're hungry and they want food, they want it now. They can get downright persistent in the morning if they don't get their breakfast right when they think they should get it. And he's only extremely loving when he wants food. Otherwise, he's disappeared. He's just hanging out in the house somewhere. Unless like there's some trouble afoot in the house and he has to come and figure out what's going on and he has to be the sheriff and oops. Hopefully I didn't mess up my thing. And then he has to be the sheriff and come in and straighten everybody out. If you want to know all about Pooh Bear, go to the Great Fur Battle episode, and you will learn how Pooh Bear handles the 3 dogs and his brother, the cat, and how he handles the people in the house too when he thinks that he needs to put people in line. He's not a mean cat. He's the sheriff of the house. He does not like certain things. He's a good cat, though. He's fluffy and black, and he's a good kitty. Yeah. And what we do without this little guy. He belongs to my middle son, but when he moved out, he couldn't take him with him, so we have him. And then my other son's still here, and so he has a brother to this one, which is Gray, and that's Rue. No, we did not name them. I would not name them after Winnie the Pooh characters, but although interestingly enough, we used to have a dog named Winnie, which my husband had before we were even he got before we even got married, and then we did get married obviously, and then we had Winnie for a while, but yeah, but I don't think he named her after Winnie the Pooh. I'll have to ask him how he got her name though. I think it was named after someone he knows, I think. But the shelter, and I know I'm babbling on about the cats, but the shelter named these little fellas. They got found underneath a boat somewhere, and they got brought to the shelter. And all the cats in that litter got named, after a Winnie the Pooh character. So, then we got the brothers, or 2 of them. Anyways, 2 of them. So, all right. So we're gonna just leave it here. All right. Well, I'm going to see how long this episode is. Ooh, wow. This is a long one. I think this one turned out better than the other two. The other was like 5 or 6 I dumped already. Because I had mini starts and had to go too. So, but I did have like a 50-minute one that I had to dump. And I probably will not edit this right away. So I don't know if this will be out today or not. And right now it is Tuesday. So we'll see. If it posts today on Tuesday on the 3rd, you will know I actually made it. But I need to, I got to get some housework done before the hubby gets home. It doesn't mean that he's like, oh, you got to have housework done. It just means that I would like to have it done because for me, I would, I think it would be nice to have things, dinner cooked when he gets home. So, but anyways, I want to thank everyone for listening to me babble on for an hour and now 12 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me. I will find out tomorrow when my guest is going to be on next. I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow. Dr. Richard Featherly, we will see because we're getting together we'll be chatting about, the next episode because he may be a regular. We'll see. And if there's anything that you want me to ask him about, or you want me to ask him about doing an episode on, he's not just a social worker; he is also a therapist. So, he was a social worker and then he's in the therapy. But he, if you have any questions or anything, drop them in the comment section, and I can ask him about that. Also, I've been telling you that there's a woman that I've been wanting to come on here, and I sat down and had coffee with her yesterday, and I still did not ask her about being on the podcast because we got to talking about other things, and they were kind of important things, and I didn't want to shift them from some things that, that were important to her that we were talking about to like, oh, hey, by the way, I have this, I didn't want to do that. So I'm working on it, but I will. I mean, it took me a while to get my first, well, the husband was the first guest, but it took me a while to get my first professional guest to work up for the courage. And this lady is not a professional, but she is a very nice lady with a lot of life experiences and things like that. And I thought that she'd be a very unique guest to have on, and someone who I think you all would enjoy listening to. So hopefully, hopefully within this week, I will talk to her again. Matter of fact, she actually called me today. I didn't think I had her number. Like I said before, I didn't have her number, but yet she called me and it pinged up on my phone as her. And I'm like, well, I guess I did have her number. So, and I still didn't talk to her because she just had something quickly to tell me and she had to get off the phone. So I'm going to be bringing her out. I want to anyways. So just give me time and you'll have someone else to listen to besides me. Someone else yet. So, and if we could get Sue on here, I would so love that. But we'll see. So, hey, drop me a comment if you want Sue to at least come on and say hi, even if it's just a 5-minute bite-size chat. That would be fun. So let me know. So thank you so much for everyone stopping by and chatting. And hopefully this will get uploaded later on today. More later. Bye.